In our world here, there are many types of creatures, and each type has its own abilities and special skills. And amongst them are some humans, like our hero Light, who frankly serve no purpose at all. And one day Light decided to leave his home to become an adventurer and went to the big city to register at the Adventurers Guild. As soon as he arrived, he met the kind receptionist who helped him register. And since it was his first time registering at the guild, she told him he would start from the lowest rank, which is F. And she told him frankly, you serve no purpose and are completely useless. And she also asked him, do you have any talent or special ability you can use? Our hero Light replied enthusiastically and said to her, yes, I have a skill called the gotcha skill. The receptionist stood stunned for a few seconds as if she couldn't believe what she heard. But he really meant it, and he has a strange luck wheel that he can summon. And when he presses it, it gives him a random item each time. He said to her, I'll show you an example so you understand what I mean. He summoned the wheel of luck and pressed the button. The wheel spun immediately and gave him a bent fork. He tried to justify that this strange fork he got might have some use, but the receptionist still didn't understand his strange ability. He tried a second time, and unfortunately, it gave him a rotten apple that no one could ever eat. The receptionist, of course, wanted to hit him, but since she is respectful, she tried to control herself and said to him, son, with the skill you have, you will never ever get promoted and will remain in Frank forever. He said to her, okay, so what jobs can I do to earn money now? And what quests suit my rank? She quickly showed him the board with all the available quests, but unfortunately our hero was completely illiterate and couldn't read or write, obviously because he never went to school. The receptionist felt his suffering and said to him, all right, I'll explain everything to you. And she started reading the quests listed on the board. She told him that the quests suitable for him currently are jobs like gathering firewood, moving soil, or cleaning gardens, but the pay is very little and barely covers your expenses. He said to her, fine, no problem, I agree to these quests. And indeed, on the same day he worked and tried his best with his small body, and by the end of the day he had barely earned some money to pay the rent for his house. But as he was walking at night, a group of human-like monsters saw him and knew he was new. They went and beat him up and stole his money. Light kept begging them to return his money, saying, if you take everything I have, I'll have to sleep on the street. But the monsters laughed at him, and no one in the street cared about what he said because humans in this world are at the bottom, the lowest beings in rank and power, and of course no one was prepared to defend him. He sat in the middle of the mud as people passed by, kept looking at him and bullying him. They kept saying hurtful words to him like he's a useless human, until one person actually stopped to help him. She reached out her hand to him. At first he thought she was a human, but when he looked closely he found she was from the elf race. He was startled and scared, quickly pulled his hand back, and thought she would take advantage of him. But the elf said to him, don't be afraid, and sat next to him, hugging him to calm him down. Light couldn't believe his eyes. How could an elf treat him so kindly? But she seemed truly sincere with him. She introduced him to the rest of her team, and told him that they are called the Tribal Union, a team composed of 9 different races, and their goal is to end the racism between the races existing in this world. The leader's name is Guru, and he is one of the monsters, and the elf's name is Sa. She told him, we have almost all races, but we are missing a human, and that's why we want you to be the 9th member of the team. It sounded good on paper, but why did they choose a weak 12-year-old child who is useless? But never mind, let's see how it ends. And from that day on, every time the team went out on a mission, Light would go with them just as a pack carrier. Unfortunately as he is, he remained useless. In less than 10 minutes on the first mission, he was about to die from a huge troll that attacked him, and luckily Draghi and Sasha saved him at the last moment. Sasha said to him, focus, Light, this place is one of the most dangerous dungeons in the world. Any creature here could kill you in an instant and you must stay close to us. He apologized and Sasha tried not to upset him, saying, come here, let me see if you're hurt, while checking on him. The rest of the team started getting annoyed. Why are you always so affectionate with him? They laughed and left them. After that, they continued their path deep into the dungeon and placed Light in the middle so nothing would happen to him, until they reached a narrow passage. Guru said, this is a suitable place to Light thought they were going to rest, so he put down his backpack and started making tea for everyone. But Draghi said to him, it's not necessary. We're not stopping here to rest. We're stopping here because we've decided to expel you from the team. Oh, the shock was huge for our hero Light. He said to them, are you joking or are you serious? They said to him, no joking, the talk is for real. Even Sasha, who was kind to him a moment ago, did a 180-degree turn and said to him, you are a pathetic and stupid human and your presence with us serves no purpose. Light, not understanding anything, said to them, wait a moment, why are you saying this? So they started explaining to him that all the time that passed they were acting for him. They told him that all the talk about equality and ending racism was all a trick and a lie. We are in fact among those who hate humans the most. In short, from the first day they wanted to get rid of him. He asked, then why did you waste your time and bring me with you in the first place? Guru replied and said to him, we wanted your skill. Your skill is called gotcha, right? Correct? It's a lousy skill, but it resembled a skill called the maestro, and the officials above wanted to see if this skill would develop and become useful or not. That's why they asked us to treat you well temporarily. And in the end, they saw that you were a disgusting brat, you and your skill, so we no longer need to pretend that we love you. Light stood stunned, not comprehending everything that was happening, but they didn't care. On the contrary, they intended to end the matter literally. And Guru said to him with a wicked smile, you will never ever get out of this dungeon alive, and right after these words I will attack you. He wounded him in the face. Blood poured down, terrified and scared. He got up and ran with all his energy to escape, but they laughed and said to him, even if you run away, the first monster you meet will finish you off immediately. You'd better stay here so we can kill you with our own hands. Sasha immediately raised her bow and shot him, and her arrow pierced his leg. He fell to the ground screaming in pain while the others were laughing and happy to hear his screams. Oh, the boy was literally being humiliated to the extreme. Guru approached and started kicking him with his foot to make him cry more, but Draghi said to him, enough, we're supposed to say that a monster attacked him, and we can't leave marks proving we were there. Guru laughed and said to him, it's no use, you can't escape from us ever. But Light, despite the wound, kept crawling and trying, and suddenly, while trying to get away, he touched something on the ground. It was a magical teleportation trap. The trap immediately activated, and he was instantly transported to one of the floors existing in the deep dungeon. So he is literally away from those who betrayed him, but frankly, that doesn't mean he is safe. Because this place is literally deeper and more dangerous, and everything in it could kill him in a second. He knows, of course, that he is weak and knows that the first monster he meets will be his end. He sat on the ground trying to process what happened and why they turned on him so suddenly. He was saying, I was with them all this past time, and I thought they loved me and they were my friends, treating me with tenderness and respect, and it turned out all of that in the end was an act. It became clear that they were just using him because they thought he had a rare skill, and when they discovered his skill was lousy, they decided to get rid of him. Tears fell, and he said, I will never forgive them ever. Even if it's the last thing I do, I will live and come back to kill them one by one. But suddenly he heard a sound behind him. He turned and found a giant rock monster named Chimera. Its level is 1000. Even the strongest adventurers are around levels 300 and 400, meaning this monster is tens of times stronger than them. The monster approached him. Light was literally scared to the point that he felt his body paralyzed and couldn't move from his spot. He knows, of course, that there is no chance to escape. He has nothing but his gotcha skill, which he always saw as useless, but he has no other choice but it. He started pressing the button frantically, once, twice, a third time, and at the moment the monster jumped on him to kill him. The wheel lit up and suddenly transformed, and a very beautiful maid girl came out of it. She extended her hand and with a single strike she erased the monster from existence. Light, of course, stood shocked and unable to believe what happened. The girl approached him, knelt on her knees, put her hand on his face to heal him and said, I can't bear to see wounds on a beautiful body like yours. And suddenly all the wounds he had disappeared. The girl called him my master and asked him, what is your name? He said to her, my name is Light. She said to him, from today, I am your loyal servant for life. My name is Mai and I am nicknamed the Eternal Seeking Maid. And by the way, this girl's level is over 9000. Mai told him, I am a very rare result from your skill, and my spirit is now linked to you. In short, he made an ultra-legendary pull from the luck wheel he has. Light wasn't comprehending what was happening. He, of course, always thought it was a useless skill, so how did such a powerful being come out of it? Mai said to him, allow me to examine your skills to determine their true power. Mai was surprised to find that she also has the appraisal skill. He said to her, fine, do what you want. She started examining him, and after a while Mai was surprised and said to him, your skill is protected by many layers of magic, and only people of my level can see and know its truth. From what I see, you can use this skill an infinite number of times, and the prizes that come out of it depend on the concentration of mana in the place. She told him that the prize grades start from normal up to an ultra pull. He, of course, didn't understand what she was saying. Mai started explaining to him and said, the mana that exists in the air and everywhere on the Earth's surface is very weak, which is why your chance of pulling something strong from this wheel of luck is very weak. But in the depths of this dungeon, the mana here is very strong, so the chance of success increases thousands of times. And this, of course, is the reason why Mai came out for him in the ultra pull. And she said to him, you came down here intentionally to activate your true power? But he shook his head and said to her, I was deceived. The people I thought were my friends betrayed me, hurt me, threw me away. And he practically sang her the story of his life. He told her that all he wanted was to live a good life for his family, but they tried to kill him because he is a human and from the human race. He shouted, I will never forgive them as long as I live. Mai immediately hugged him and said, I understand your pain. I may not be able to feel it, but I can make you feel comfort as long as you are with me. And she said to him, give me the order and I will cut off their heads and finish them all in an instant. Light immediately stood up and said to her, no, don't kill them. She said to him, why? These people don't deserve mercy. He said to her, I don't want you to kill them, not because I'm kind, but because I will take revenge with my own hands. He said to her, I was weak and deceived. Next time I will be strong enough so that this doesn't happen again. Mai smiled and said to him, okay sir, no problem at all. If you want to become strong like that, I will help you with all my strength, and I will make you the person who can get his rights by himself. Good for you, Mai. And wow, our hero Light, folks, will transform from a lousy kid and will possess a legendary and very awesome skill. We continue our story and learn that after 3 years, in the middle of the dungeon where Light was, he used his gacha skill to build a complete empire. He summoned a full army of powerful servants who were literally obsessed with him and loved him very much. We see that every female servant is literally in love with Light, saying they must have used up all their luck just to be close to him. One of them even added that she herself wanted to hug him, and literally all the female servants were out of control. Later, Light goes out to greet his people. Everyone literally loves him and wants to offer him the best food. If some people are short on supplies, Light is a kind leader and sits to report to the administration. Mai is following everything and wants to solve any problem immediately so that Light's image doesn't look bad. After that, Light noticed that the population had increased a lot over 3 years, so he might review and adjust the entire system anew. Then Light asked about his top warriors, whom he had summoned, of course, through his special gacha magic. They are all from rare cards of level 9999, whom he had summoned before. Mai told him that each one is currently on a mission. She tells him that Ayuki is scouting the upper part of the dungeon and making maps of the forests surrounding the dungeon, which are full of monsters and shouldn't be trusted. She's a genius tamer, and Yaoi is working on developing new magic as part of Light's grand plan. Of course, Light is busy with many things back to back, so he hopes Yaoi doesn't get confused by the great pressure on her. Light thanked Mai, telling her he is grateful for all the help, but he noticed she didn't mention Nazuna, so he was surprised and asked her what she's been doing these days. Mai laughed and told him that Nazuna is currently walking around the palace, not because they need extra security, but frankly because she is very stupid and doesn't know how to do anything except fight. In the palace, Nazuna is walking happily without a clear goal, but as long as she doesn't cause trouble, no one says anything to her. We return to Light after that. It's time for his daily training. He went to meet one of his powerful servants named Jack. Even though he has a huge army to protect him, he still wants to become strong enough to rely on himself. We learn that Light has been training with Jack for 3 years and can indeed fight him as an equal. On the other hand, Nazuna is still walking around the palace until she saw some servants sweeping. She told them she was on a very secret mission, so they started praising her, saying she was doing an excellent job. They were complimenting her because they wanted a favor from her. The fool Nazuna fell into the trap as usual. They told her about a special place they wanted her to go to as part of her patrol, and she immediately agreed. This special place is Light's room. After a while she went to knock on Light's room door, but the one who opened was Mai. Mai was surprised why Nazuna came to Light's room. Nazuna said she wanted to search inside. Mai said the room is well secured, but Nazuna said, since Light is training outside, what are you doing in his room? Mai replied, a skilled maid is never idle, but Nazuna ignored her and entered. She noticed that someone had just been tossing and turning on the bed, messing up the pillows and was busy smelling them. Mai was very annoyed and said, this is my special way of making beds, it's a trade secret and it's none of your business. Nazuna believed her and was impressed, saying to Mai, you are worthy of your status as the first summoned. Then she handed her a letter from the other maids, who were of course upset about Mai monopolizing Light's room. They wanted to enter his room themselves to clean it. Nazuna asked Mai, do you want me to help you with something? Mai understood the message very well and gave Nazuna a small reward and made her leave. Nazuna went to buy sweets with the reward. After that, she met Ayuki on the terrace. Nazuna was surprised and said, weren't you on a reconnaissance mission? But Ayuki was mumbling and wasn't understandable at all. Nazuna thought she was saying, destroy the entire forest, and she was indeed about to do so until Ayuki was forced to speak normally, and told her she was just bringing a part of the finished map. Nazuna laughed and said, well, you should have said so from the beginning, took the map from her and continued her tour. Later she entered the throne room, and when she found the place empty she seized the opportunity, went and sat on Light's throne, and started snuggling into it. She began to pamper herself, thinking that Light missed her, and she hadn't seen him today. Suddenly she heard a loud cracking sound and discovered she had broken one of the throne's armrests. She got very scared and started fixing it quickly so it would look intact, but of course she just stuck it back anyhow and ran out scared and terrified. Outside the palace, Light and Jack finished their training and decided to go to the bathhouse to relax. Jack told him he had become excellent at controlling his body, and his level was now higher than many fighters. But he warned him not to be overconfident because they don't know what might await them if they leave the dungeon. Light said, "I understand your words well, and I won't let the power control me, so when the time for revenge comes, I won't mess things up." At the same time, Mei gathered the 4 maids who sent the letter and started yelling at them saying, "You know why I brought you here?" They tried to deny it, but she had memorized the letter word for word, and Nazuna had literally told her everything, so they had no escape. They started apologizing, saying they did it just to lessen her burden. But Mei was very angry, especially since they made Nazuna deliver the letter instead of them. She told them their request was denied, and as punishment she would make them clean the entire corridor leading to the throne room with their own hands, and without magic of course. They were shocked and told her the task was impossible, but Mei said, "This is a chance for you to practice patience." She also announced she was going on a mission to the surface, so they had to do all the work in her place. After that we see Nazuna standing in front of a weapon shop, and what does she see by chance? She remembers she came to buy sweets, but she tells herself, "Nazuna, you saw some very fancy fighting gloves and really want to get them." At that moment she was surprised that Ai was there with her now and not at her work. So Ai tells her, "Things are going well, so I decided to take a break and relax." Then Yi decided to provoke Nazuna and show how stupid she is. She asked her some multiplication table questions, and with the first question Nazuna answered wrong. They started squabbling and all the city's inhabitants were watching them. Ei continued her provocation of Nazuna, saying, "Light is relying on me for the main revenge plan, not like you. He makes you wander around on useless patrols." Nazuna said, "My patrols are important, not like what you imagine." I continued provoking her, saying, "Yesterday I drank tea with Light, just the 2 of us." Nazuna became very upset. She wished she could sit with him and drink tea too. Ei told her, "Next time, Light will even book a special room for me and sit with me." Suddenly Ei realized that Nazuna was saying, "You're a witch and your mana energy could run out at any moment during battle. If you need any help from me during the fight, I'll be by your side and help you." So I took it to heart and said, "Agreed," and left. Nazuna was happy walking away so she wouldn't be sad. Later the 4 maids sat in their room very upset. They said the punishment was unfair and that only Mei has the right to enjoy Light's scent and be with him always. One suggested they poison and kill her, but one of them said that Mei is immune to poisons and nothing affects her at all. So they gave up and started crying that they wanted to clean Light's room to smell the scent of his bed. One of them said she wanted to eat with a fork that Light used, but another replied, "The obsession hasn't reached that level yet." Jealousy among them literally started working at the highest level. They remembered that Mei is no better than them because she was on his bed today and also was the first one Light summoned. And she spent many months alone with him when he was weak. So they decided to cast a curse out of their jealousy and started wishing she would die. By their bad luck, Mei was standing behind the door and heard everything they said. She entered suddenly and said, "Would you like to say something else?" They immediately got scared and started trembling, saying they didn't mean anything they said. But she heard them herself. In the end, they admitted they were jealous of her because she was the first one Light summoned. Mei told them that nothing inappropriate happened between her and Light, and she was only teaching him combat arts and history. She also said she was intending to apologize to them for the previous punishment, but after what she heard she decided to increase the punishment and asked them to clean the throne room as well. While cleaning, one of them was cleaning the throne, and the armrest that Nazuna had broken fell off again. They all fell silent, realizing they were in big trouble. The next morning Light goes out to meet Ai and Nazuna, who were squabbling as usual. Nazuna was very happy that her wish came true and she saw him. Light was treating Yuki like a cat, and the others were of course extremely jealous of each other. Suddenly a hellhound appeared, the same type of monster that attacked Light when he first arrived in the dungeon long ago. Light's body was still trembling from the memory of that terrifying day, but now the situation is different because he has his warriors around him, who are ready to fight at any time. Nazuna of course got extremely angry and said, "How dare a dog challenge Light while I'm here?" And Ai was also furious and said, "I'll teach it manners." And Yuki was also upset and decided to kill it and wipe its entire species from existence. They looked at the monster and said, "Get ready for our level 9999 power." They were just about to finish it off, but Light calmly stopped them and said, "I'm fine now." They immediately listened to him and stepped back. After that, Light apologized to the monster for scaring it and said, "If I had let them at you, they would have literally erased you from existence." Then Light told them the reason he gathered them, which was of course after he received word that Mei's mission was successful and it was time to execute the plan. The prey took the bait and it's time to execute the second step. The other girls are very jealous of Mei because she knows everything and has surpassed them in preparing the plan, but at the same time they are also extremely excited. Light told them, the time for revenge has now come, for which he has been preparing for 3 years. Garo was walking with his followers in the middle of the city. Since he is their hero, everyone there was overjoyed, praising and glorifying him as if he were the king, to the point where one of the monsters behind him called out and said to him, "If you want to marry my sister, I agree." But Garo didn't pay him any mind and walked away as if he hadn't heard anything, of course because he currently isn't free, nor are girls on his mind. At that moment, he saw a small human boy who looked very miserable, searching through the garbage for any food to satisfy his hunger. The boy wasn't close to him at all, but Garo, instead of ignoring him, turned towards him on purpose, went and kicked him, knocking him to the ground, and kept bullying him just for amusement and simply to humiliate. After that, he gathered his pathetic gang and entered a private room so his followers could start applauding him, glorifying him, and kept praising him and even singing a song in his name as is their habit. All of them were trying to please him to gain his favor since he is their great hero. One of them started saying, "Wow, Garo, you are a miracle. You came from a poor neighborhood of monsters and became the closest one now to being the new leader." Another said, "Even the current leader acknowledges your strength here." Then they asked him, "Tell us how you reached this position so quickly." Garo puffed up with pride and said to them, "All I do is follow my animal instinct, and it always chooses the best jobs for me. Like that time 3 years ago, I got a very good deal. All that was required of me was to pretend to be from the race unification group and eliminate one human they suspected of having a mysterious power." With complete coldness, he continued his talk. "I didn't even check if he died or not, but with his weakness, it's impossible for him to be alive after what happened to him. So it's better we forget about that kid completely." Suddenly, the door opened and a girl who looked very elegant entered. This girl was Mai. She entered the room and asked in a calm voice, "Are you Garo? I want to ask you about someone named Light." His men immediately shouted at her, "How dare you speak in that manner with him?" But Garo raised his hand and said to them, "Leave her. I just want to know what she wants." Mai said, "I am the maid of Master Light, and I've come from a distant land searching for him everywhere." She told him that Master Light is from a large and very noble family, and that she has been in his service for a long time. Garo looked at her suspiciously and thought to himself, "This doesn't make sense to me, because the people who hired me for that mission did a full search on him, and it never came up that he was from a noble family, nor did he say that but this girl really looks like a maid from a wealthy family." He smiled and said to her, "Okay, what exactly do you want from me?" Mai said, "I received news that Master Light died in the dungeon about 3 years ago, and I want you to take me to the place where he died so I can pay my respects, and I'll give you pure gold in return." Garo sensed something fishy in this talk and that something was wrong. Why would a girl pay so much gold to go to an old place? There must be a trap, but when he looked at her again and saw that she was just a normal, weak human, he laughed and thought to himself, "Is this the one who will cause me trouble? She looks very weak." He said aloud, "Okay, I'll help you. Not for the money, but because Light was my friend and I want to help him." Mai smiled deceitfully inside, knowing that everything he said was a lie, but she had to keep playing the role. So she thanked him and said, "I am very grateful to you." After a full month of travel, they finally reached the place where Light had disappeared 3 years ago. But Garo had no intention of honoring the agreement anyway, and he had another plan in mind. As soon as they arrived, he would attack Mai and leave her to die in the same way Light died. As soon as they arrived, Mai knelt on the ground, her tears falling as she imagined the moments when Light was alone, lost and trapped in the darkness of the dungeon. How difficult it must have felt. The despair and helplessness he felt. Garo began his acting, saying, "The poor kid was attacked by a monster suddenly and fell into a teleportation trap before we could catch up with him. At the same time, his men began moving quietly to block the exit so Mai couldn't escape, waiting for the moment to attack." But suddenly, before they could attack her, Mai said in a voice full of anger, "But if I had been with Master Light from the beginning, he wouldn't have been betrayed like that, nor would he have fallen into the hands of scum like you." As soon as Garo heard this sentence, his expression changed and he began to retreat a step back because the thing she said was known only to the people who were in on the plot. "What does she mean, who betrayed Light? How does she know these details?" He shouted, "How do you know that? You look like a spy or a follower of some race." Mai breathed angrily and said, "How dare you compare me to them? I am the maid of Master Light and will remain in his service all my life, and anyone who doubts my loyalty will face the punishment of death." The atmosphere changed suddenly. Garo felt something terrifying inside him. This woman is a normal human, but the aura emanating from her made the hair on his body stand on end. His animal instinct itself was telling him that he must escape immediately. Mai was about to unleash her fury and turn the place into a slaughterhouse, but before she could do so, a calm voice came from behind her and said, "That's enough, Mai. Leave this one, he is my prey." Garo and his men froze in their places. None of them felt anyone approach nor heard any footsteps. When they looked, they found Light standing in front of them. Garo's eyes widened, unable to believe what he was seeing. Impossible. How was Light alive? Light looked at him with complete coldness and said, I came back to take my revenge with my own hands, Garo. Garo exploded with laughter then and said, You weakling, I'm now at level 150 and you were at level 15 back then. How could you even touch? He wasn't convinced that Light was truly strong, but in his mind he had a plan. If he killed Light himself and brought his body, he would be the greatest hero to the leader and would become the new leader himself. But Light was unaffected and unafraid and said to him calmly, I don't even want you to ask me how I survived. Garo laughed and said, Surely this woman saved you when you teleported. But the strange thing is that was indeed the truth. Garo immediately shouted to his men and demanded that they attack him. Two of them lunged at him with incredible speed, but before they could even reach him, their heads flew from their bodies in a second. His men froze in terror. They couldn't even see my finishing them off. Garo told them to keep their calm and said to himself, This must be a coincidence. It's impossible for her to be this strong. Light looked and said to her calmly, Thank you for intervening, but from here on, I will take care of everything. Guard the exit and don't let anyone escape. Garo tried to keep his composure and said to his men, Don't worry, you fools. We don't lose to a bunch of weak humans. But Light laughed and said to him, The one saying this is the weakest among you. Garo got agitated and said, What nonsense is this? Humans are known to be the weakest creatures. They have no energy or strength like the other races. Light raised his eyebrow and said, Then how come two of your men who were stronger than you have their heads rolling on the ground now? Garo said that must have been a mistake on their part, or laziness and stupidity. In a loud voice he said, Come on, let's get him. They all rushed at once, but Light didn't move from his spot. He closed his eyes and in seconds he was finishing them off one after another with a single blow each. Garo fell to the ground, unable to comprehend what had happened. Light stood over him and said, Is this your strength? You guys are nothing at all. He said to him, You think you're superior to humans. You're not even half of what you claim to be. Garo was dying of rage, so he decided to use his last resort. He grabbed a necklace he was wearing and broke it on the ground. Suddenly, a huge light emerged from it, and a giant monster of the Vernora type appeared at level 500. Garo shouted with all confidence and said, This is your end, Light. He kept laughing an evil laugh and boasting, saying, I'll have this monster finish you off. He told him that it is at level 500, meaning just one breath from it is enough to erase you from existence. But Light was standing in front of him with a strange calmness. He smiled at him and said, Level 500 is still very weak compared to me. Garo was startled and said, Have you gone mad? How can you say that? It's even stronger than me many times over and it's impossible for you to defeat it alone. In an arrogant voice he said, Kneel on your knees and beg me for mercy. Maybe after that I'll let you die an easy death. Light said to him, Okay, very well. Let me clarify the difference between you and me. He said to him, I won't move from my spot. Hit me with your strongest attack. Garo was enraged by his own arrogance and said to his men, Do you see this foolish kid? Who does he think he is? In a loud voice, he told his monster to attack him. The monster began to move and unleashed a terrifying energy, a strong light covering the entire place. It opened its mouth and launched an attack called Killer Beast's Howl. Its attack could destroy an entire fortress in a second. The explosion was literally terrifying. The ground cracked and dust covered everything. Garo kept laughing like a madman, saying, I finished him off. But when the smoke began to clear, his expression froze. Light was standing in the same place without a single scratch or a hair out of place. Light said to him calmly and with all sarcasm, Is this the attack you were so excited about? It's not even enough to warm up the air around me. He looked at the monster and said, You call this weak creature a Vernora? This can barely be called a small dog. Then he stretched out his hand and pulled out a magic card from his pocket and said, Let me show you now what a real Vernora looks like. He opened the card and suddenly a huge vortex of energy appeared, and a legendary giant wolf emerged from it. Its eyes glowed with blue light and the air itself froze everything around it. He said to him, Now this is a real monster. He told him that it is at level 9000. Garo literally froze in his place, and when the monster glanced in his direction, it just breathed once. And the wolf that Garo had summoned froze instantly and shattered like. Garo stood rooted to the spot, his expression completely frozen, literally unable to believe what his eyes were seeing. The monster he himself had summoned was wiped from existence by a single breath from the Fenrera. Garo breathed in fear and said, That's not possible, the monster you have. What is it? Light looked at him calmly and said, Don't be afraid, that monster was just a small demonstration. He put the staff back on his back and continued his talk, saying, I could have finished off your monster with my own hand without summoning anyone. He said to him, I'll show you now the difference between you and me clearly. He opened the status window in front of him and let Garo see for himself. Garo looked and his expression changed completely. His hand began to tremble. What was written in front of him was unnatural. Light's level was 9,999. He screamed, unable to believe that Light had that level, and kept saying, "This isn't real. Levels don't even reach that number." He began to swallow his saliva with difficulty, sweat pouring from him, and tears in his eyes. He said in fear, "You can't possibly be Light. You are an unnatural devil." But Light approached him and said, "Does it matter to you if I am Light or not? In the end, your end will be the same." Garo lost all hope. He threw his weapon on the ground and fell to his knees. He said in a broken voice, "Please forgive me. I was carrying out orders from my superiors. I didn't mean to harm you or even finish you off." He raised his head and kept pleading with him, saying, "I was wrong and I was foolish." He told him, "You are the true king of magic. Please let me live. Don't kill me here." Light looked at him with complete coldness and said, "Before I decide whether to forgive you or not, I have a few questions you must answer with complete honesty." Garo immediately agreed and nodded his head, saying, "I will do whatever you want." Light said to him, "First question, when your superiors ordered you to look for people named masters, what did you want them for?" Garo got confused and said, "I don't know what masters means. I was just carrying out the orders given." Light looked at him and said, "Then why, after you confirmed I wasn't one of the masters, did you decide to kill me?" Garo said in fear, "It wasn't me who decided. Those were orders from above. They told me we must erase your existence completely, but I don't know the reason." Light was silent for a moment and then he looked at Garo's followers and asked them, "Do you guys know anything about the masters?" Everyone replied in the same second, "Yes, we." Mai immediately moved and in the blink of an eye she cut them all in half with her sword and said in a terrifying voice, "Anyone who lies in front of Light will be punished with death." After she finished them off, Light looked at Goro and said to him with terrifying calmness, "I have one last question for you before I decide your fate, and if you lie, know that Mai will be able to tell the truth, and at that moment your end will be worse than death." Garo felt his body freeze, sweat dripping from everywhere, and knew that if he said something wrong, Mai would tear him apart. Light said to him, "Given your strong intuition, do you think I can win any war against the kings currently outside the dungeon?" Garo hesitated, and he looked very nervous. But in the end he said to him, "With your strength you could win at first truly. But after that you will lose because you are alone. War isn't just about individual strength, it's about armies, weapons, and an endless number of people, meaning, in the end you will be defeated." He expected Light to yell or punish him, but Light smiled and said, "I was sure you would say that and you are actually right." He took a step closer to him and said, "But let me show you something that might change your mind." He stretched out his hand and pulled out a magic card and suddenly light covered the entire place. When Garo opened his eyes again, he found himself in a huge throne hall. Its floor was made of marble and its walls of gold, with many armies in front of him. Garo was terrified and raised his hand to cover his face, not understanding where he was or what had happened. When he looked closely, he saw Light's real army. Thousands of fighters all standing in rows, their uniforms coordinated, and the aura around them was terrifying. Light walked with steady steps towards the throne, and when he arrived he said to them in a loud voice, "Display your levels." And in that moment all the soldiers revealed their energy. Garo froze in his place when he saw the numbers. Most of them were above level 5,000, and the weakest among them was 1,500. Garo's face literally turned pale, his eyes wide open, unable to believe what he was seeing in front of him. He said while trembling, "Their levels are all above 5,000. Even the weakest among them is stronger than all of our soldiers." Light said to him with all confidence, Now Garo, after you've seen my army with your own eyes, do you still think that war against the kings is impossible?" Garo couldn't even respond. His expression changed from fear, and he knew the answer was already clear. He said to him, "You won't just defeat them, you'll make shawarma out of them." Light smiled a cold smile and said to him, "I was sure of that. Now you've confirmed with your own eyes that victory is easy for me." He took a step then another closer to him and his voice became heavy, like the echo of a devil, and said to him, "Since you were honest with me, I will reward you for your honesty." Goro nodded his head quickly, and hope appeared on his face. He said, "You'll forgive me, you mean?" Light laughed a light laugh and said to him, "It's impossible for me to forgive you, of course, Garo." He said to him, "I won't kill you because killing you would be a great mercy for you." The laugh disappeared instantly, and the tone of his voice became dark as he continued, saying, "I will let you live, but you will wish for death every moment." And he ordered all his soldiers to prepare to go to the surface. I wonder what exactly does our hero intend to do? And what punishment has he prepared for Garo? If you are as excited as I am, my hero, to know the rest of the events, don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe to follow the rest of the episodes with us. See you soon.